Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene. This special edition of Oklahoma Sports Scene happens today, and you notice I'm Gil Cloud, normally one of the co-hosts, but our host, Chris Lincoln, had knee replacement. So Chris is home with his nurse, Becky, and that means that we didn't even get makeup today. But I have two cohorts today, my old friend and longtime colleague, and a Hall of Famer, J.V. Haney, and our good friend from the Tulsa world, Barry Lewis. I'm glad you guys are here, and hopefully we can have a good time and move right down the road. We got a great lineup today. Tell us about the Drillers.
Yes, Scott Hennessey. What a job he did last year when he took over as the Tulsa Drillers manager in late July. Right off the bat, he leads them on a 15-game home winning streak, the longest in Tulsa pro baseball history, and led them to within one game of a Texas League pennant. And so he is ready to go for the start of his first full season as the Drillers manager.
Well, that's exciting. And, of course, then we've got the head softball coach at University of Tulsa, who's had outstanding career, and of course, we look at softball as being a good spring sport. They've been to the NCAA tournament 9 or 10 times during his time here, and his name is, I forgot.
Coach Bargfeldt, John Bargfeldt.
John Bargfeldt. And John is an outstanding coach, like I say, and he's coached a number of All-Americans, and we're here to hear about TU softball. And then we have a special guest from NEO A&M.
Well, we have Dr. Hale, who is the president of NEO A&M, and what a junior college it is for athletics, especially the number of people from the metropolitan area of Tulsa that have gone to Miami, to NEO A&M, and have made a name for themselves, gone on to senior colleges. It's just been one super junior college for the state of Oklahoma.
And a lot of good things he's done since he's been there with facilities.
You know what he has done that a lot of junior college presidents don't do? When he took the job at NEO A&M, Dr. Hale committed himself to making it the very best junior college in Oklahoma. It wasn't when he came aboard, but it is now. And to him, that is his life. It's not what is going to happen next. Is it going to be a senior college? It is a junior college and the best. And that's what Dr. Hale does.
And we're excited to have him. And, of course, finally, we do our student athlete and coach of the month, and Barry will have that for us. Well, let's get into some hot topics, guys. And, we've got we're taping on Monday, and so the Final Four game is tonight.
You know, the thing that really gets me, the first week in April this year, can you think as many sports that are going to be coming out, and some of them are going to be very, very good. So we can't watch all of them.
No,
what are we going to do? It's going to be fun, isn't it?
Well, who's going to win tonight?
Well, I think Vanderbilt will do it.
Vanderbilt?
No,
Villanova.
Villanova. I knew
All the V schools are the same.
I knew it started with a V.
Exactly.
Come on.
What do you think, Barry?
I'm going with Michigan. I thought ever since they won that second round game in such dramatic fashion that they had just some special vibe about them. So I'm going to go with the Wolverines. My mom's alma mater all the way.
Oh, I see. Well, I got to go with Villanova because I picked them from the start, and I think they're an awful good shooting team and so on. What about the Thunder? We got to talk about the Thunder. They won last night, and that was a good win. They're up at 45 wins now.
I'll tell you what, the Thunder one night, they looked like that they could go into the semifinals of the final playoffs. And the next night, I don't know whether they'll make the playoffs or not. But Westbrook is such an unbelievable player that it just, to me, it's unbelievable what he does.
I think it's ridiculous that here they are entering the final week of the regular season and that they haven't clinched a playoff spot.
Yes.
With the amount of talent that they have, even though Andre Robertson is out for the year with an injury. Corey Brewer's done a fine job filling in for him.
Yes.
But with Carmelo and Paul George, Steven Adams, and they haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, and that is unbelievable that with a week to go that they haven't.
Well, they're sitting number 5 right now. They're 45 and 33, and they have 4 games left. They have the Warriors on the 3rd. They have Houston on the 7th. They got Miami on the 9th, and they finish up at home with Memphis. So I think if they win one of those, they're in.
They're in pretty good shape since they escaped with a win at New Orleans, but you look at that schedule, they could win any of them as they've shown, or they could lose any of
Every
them.
one of them, you bet. And of course, we have the Drillers, and Major League Baseball's kicked off, and spring football at all 4 of the institutions in the area here, and with spring games coming up in Little Rock. The Arkansas Razorbacks will be at Little Rock this year on April 7th. Very early finish for them. And then we've got TU with their spring game on the 7th at 11 o'clock in the morning. The Oklahoma spring game on the 14th with the extravaganza with Trace Adkins and the picnic and the party and everything. And then finally we end up with Oklahoma State on 28th of April.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lover's skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
Ditchwitz, 5 words or less.
Making the impossible possible.
Technology you can't live without.
Most versatile equipment ever made.
Customer service and support.
Reliable, productive, ground-chewing machines.
We're in this together.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene, brought to you by Jimmy's Egg. And we have a very special guest today, and Barry Lewis, our friend from the Tulsa World, is going to introduce him.
Scott Hennessey, what a story Scott and the Drillers were last season. When he started the season, he was in Florida, and then in June, he gets the call to come up to the Drillers to coach. And then in late July, when Ryan Garko resigns, Scott is promoted to manager, and then what a run the Drillers made. Won the North Division title, went on a 27-13 run to end the regular season, won the first round of the playoffs, and then came 1 win short in the championship series. And I know, Scott, you've got a lot of high hopes for this year's team as well.
Yeah, a lot of high hopes. We have some guys back, got some newcomers. So it's a good mix of veteran guys with some young guys. Had a good spring training. We got out of there pretty healthy, which is key, and guys are ready to get going. They're not liking the weather today, but we're in 80 degrees probably the last 3 weeks, and today was not good, but they're ready, anxious to get going.
So when you open up, what are the things you're going to work on here? You got 2 or 3 days before your season opener. What are you going to work on in Tulsa?
We're just, we've worked on everything's in place. We're just going to try to keep them sharp, take some batting practice, a lot of ground balls, some fly balls under the lights, maybe do some pitchers fielding practice with some ground balls. Just try to keep them sharp, not overload them with stuff, keep their legs underneath them, and they're ready to go. They're ready to go.
You know, Scott, last year when it really changed, when you took over as the manager, suddenly the players, to me, were much more dedicated to what they were doing. I know a lot of times I'll sit over on the third base side up on the top where I can see in the dugout. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like that after you became manager, there was a different atmosphere in the dugout. I mean, those kids suddenly decided, hey, we're going to win. Now, what did you do?
I don't know it's what I did. I just think that I'm an intense guy, and they saw the work that we worked hard, and they wanted that, and it just me working with them, they wanted to learn and get better, and it just worked, and they saw a little passion, and they responded, and it's all a credit to them, really.
What does the league look like this year? Who's going to be a contender aside from you?
I think everybody's a contender. We played Seattle in spring training a couple games, and they're definitely going to be a threat. They had some guys that swung the bat good against us in spring training. Springfield will always have good players. The Cardinals. I think everybody's going to have really good players, or you don't get to that level. I just think it's going to come down to injuries and who can stay here. If we get a couple guys moved to AAA, which let's hope we do, but it's going to come down to injuries and who stays and who goes, really.
How much stability can you count on from the parent club?
Hopefully, no stability. I mean, our job is to develop these guys and get them to AAA and to the big leagues. So if we're doing our job, there's always going to be movement, and that's really what you want. I mean, you don't want guys to come to AA and be satisfied and content. We're working every day. Hey, you work hard. Let's get your numbers and get you out of here. So, I hope there's no stability, but that's why we have to do good in the draft to keep them coming. To keep the DJ Peters, the Luke Rayleys, the Devin Smeltzers, the guys we're going to have new this year, and then get them out of here and get the next crop in.
Can you tell us a little bit about your roster, your starting lineup?
We'll go over some pitchers first. Dennis Santana is going to be our opening day pitcher. He threw Game 5 of the first round of the series last year, the playoffs, and through Game 5 of the championship series. He'll be Game 1 starter. Good stuff. Fat sinker slider guy with experience. Yadiel Alvarez, could be one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he'll go Game 2. He's up to 100 with a slider, breaking ball, and a changeup. And then we're going to go Game 1, Game 2. We've announced that. We don't know Game 3 yet. But we have Will Smith, Cabert Ruiz will be back as our catcher. We have 2 good catchers. Errol Robinson will be back at shortstop. Drew Jackson, Michael Ahmed, DJ Peters, Luke Rayleigh, Kyle Garlick's back. So it's a good mix. It's really good. If we can stay healthy, we'll be all right.
Eric, what do you think?
Are there, I know 6 weeks ago when you visited here, on the way to spring training, you had a pretty good feel of who was going to be on your opening day roster, and that's often not the case when the Drillers manager comes through town before spring training. Were there any surprises to make the roster this season?
No, I don't think any surprises, because we're just so loaded at the major league level and the AAA level. Basically, what we thought going in is the roster. Yeah, so we feel good about it. If we can stay healthy,
What effect does the parent team being so successful have on your young kids coming through?
You just got to work hard. You got to teach these guys how to win, teach them the Dodger way. And if you do that and get them to be good teammates, everything goes hand in hand. So,
with Oklahoma City in AAA, Tulsa in AA, and so close, that has to be a positive impact for you to have the AAA that close.
Yeah, it's positive. It's positive for the big club too, because guys can come down here, like the GMs, assistant GMs, and they can see a series in Tulsa, and then they can drive over and see a series. They can match them up, drive an hour down the road or hour and a half, and then see a series in Oklahoma City, see who's playing well, see who's getting better, and it works hand in hand. It's good. It's I know Farhan and Friedman and Josh Burns, David Finley, they love coming here and seeing one series in Tulsa, one in Oklahoma City.
Barry, you've covered the Drillers forever. What do you think about this year's team?
I think when you look at the amount of prospects on this team, it's really the most amount of prospects that the Drillers have had coming out of spring training, at least in the 4 years that Tulsa's been affiliated with the Dodgers, and probably for several years before that. It's really an exciting mix. And I I can hardly wait for the season to get started and see, when you look at Dennis Santana and how dominant he was, as you mentioned, in the playoffs last year, and Yadier Alvarez, and of course we got a brief look at DJ Peters and the power he brings to your outfield, and you could go on and on and on. This has the potential to be one of the, at least in the first half of the season before they all move up, to be one of the more exciting Tulsa Drillers teams that there's been.
I would agree with that. I mean, it has a chance to be. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but the facts are the facts. And we have really good players that work hard, have a lot of prospects, and this team has a chance to be special. So.
That's fantastic. We'll be back with Scott Hennessey in just a moment, but we got to do a little selling. And Jimmy's Egg is our good sponsor and one of our title sponsors. There are over 20 Jimmy's Eggs in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and we want you to make sure that you get by Jimmy's Egg and try either breakfast or lunch, and you can have breakfast or lunch at any time from 6 to 2 o'clock. If you want a hamburger at 6 o'clock in the morning, you can get it. If you want a scrambled egg at 1:30, you can get it. And pancake happy hour. You don't want to miss pancake happy hour from 11 to 2. You get all you want, all you can eat pancakes at half price. Fantastic. And then, if you want to go to Jimmy's Egg and get some news, you can look at what JV's going to sell you.
Well, yes, but you're talking about Jimmy's Egg. You're making me hungry.
I know, I am.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the GTR. Forrest Cameron puts out the GTR, 6 different papers throughout metropolitan Tulsa. And within them, you can find about anything you want. But there's one page that always jumps out. And that is a page that has, for the next month, activities that are going on, from the theater to the sports to anything you want. He is listing that for a month in advance. And a lot of times, that's hard to find. So we want to encourage you to get out and support the GTR and what Forrest Cameron has done. You'll enjoy it.
We'll be right back with Scott Hennessey in just a moment.
I bring Tulsa's voice to Oklahoma City and Washington. I build relationships with elected officials and community stakeholders to develop policies that grow the Tulsa region. Along with my time at Rider State University, the personal relationships I developed with professors really helped develop a skill set that would help me serve the Tulsa region that I care about. It all started for me at Rider State University.
Celebrate your home today at Bowen's Discount Carpet for our Shop and Compare sale. Take advantage of our guaranteed lowest prices you can find, great deals on new Shaw floors, and a huge variety of brands and colors that you will have to see to believe. Let Shaw Floors spice up your space, along with 36 years of experience, and the beauty of your floors will shine. Come out to Bowen's, where we refuse to be undersold.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene, brought to you by Jimmy's Egg. We have our special guest here, Scott Hennessey, today, and I think JV has a question for him.
I really do, and Scott, this is a tough one. Now, I've got to go back to my era of playing baseball. Now, that was back in, almost 100 years ago. Not quite, but almost. But everyone wore their uniforms the same way. And now it seems like that some wears their pants long, some wears them up around the knee. Is there anything that might come about that make them all dress alike?
Going forward, no, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Some guys like to wear their pants baggy, some guys like the high stirrups, high pants up, some like them tight. But it's just this day and age we live in, and the way we probably wore our pants back in the day those days are long gone.
And so, they'll never come back.
Yeah, I look at it like this. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, they wore those really tight shorts when they played basketball. And then the Fab Five came along, and those days aren't coming back either, I don't think. So let's go with it. Some I like, some I don't, but hey, it's whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Scott, new rule this year in minor league baseball, extra inning rule, placing the last person to make an out on second base to start the top of the 10th inning.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I want to first start by saying I think it's going to be good, because, you know, with the pitching staffs, most guys have 13-man pitching staff. And your limitations on guys that, you know, they can only throw so many pitches per game, and then if they throw so many, they're off 2 days. So I think it's going to help minor league baseball in that standpoint, cut down of playing 15 and 16 inning games, because if you play a 15, 16 inning game, your bullpen's shot for probably 3 weeks. There's going to be a lot of strategy involved. You've got a runner at second base, and let's say you had a big power guy that made the last out of the 9th inning, and you got a couple guys in the bullpen that aren't pitching that night, that are pitchers that can run. There's a lot of things you can play with and do. Maybe put a pitcher in, put a guy in on the bench. Are you going to walk the guy that's starting or top of the 10th, or pitch to him? And there's a lot of strategy involved. We talked about it a lot in spring training, and until it happens, you just got to use your instincts and go with it. But there's a lot of thought involved.
Were you able to practice any in spring training?
We practiced it a little bit. So some of our lower levels, like our A-ball clubs, did it in games. We practiced it some, but nothing in the game. But it's something we talked about a lot.
You know, it was my daughter was a softball player for Everett College and a softball coach, and then my son did the same thing. But that's always been a rule there. They call it the international rule.
Yeah, like the Texas tiebreaker or whatever.
Put it on the second base, and
yeah.
Boy, it does. The strategy that goes in there. Are you going to bunt?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to move them over. How are you going to get them there? And of course, a wild pitch, and the game could be over.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Or do you want to play for a 3-run homer or a 2-run homer?
Yep.
You know, that's a thing. You get a run, and the next, you know, you get 3 outs. Well, the home team gets the same situation. So there's going to be it's all going to depend who's on the mound, where you're at in the order, who's at second, who's running. So you can talk about it all you want until it happens.
Exactly.
You know, we're prepared for it though.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm curious, another rule change is the amount of mound visits that you can make, and seeing the major league games from the first few days, I think there's a little more strategy involved in the mound visit rule than you might think at first.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of we get 8 visits. And, you know, you can't ask the catcher to go out many times now, because that counts. And, you know, of course, of a 9-inning game, those visits are going to add up quickly, and you just got to manage it, monitor it. That's something we talked about a lot in spring training. Actually, we had the umpires come in on Friday, the day before we came here, and we had about an hour meeting with them. What's going to count as a visit, what's not, and we feel good about it, but you know, 8 visits, that's not a lot of visits, so we just got to monitor it.
How would you make that change? Just say you've had your 8th visit in the 8th inning, and you get in trouble in the 9th inning. What happens?
You add 1. In the 9th or the 10th? 9th. Well, if you go out, you got to take the guy out. If you're out of visit,
there's no penalty for having a 9th visit.
No, but you have
to take him out.
I have to take him out. Right. And if you take a guy out, that doesn't count as a visit. Does not count as a visit.
Oh.
So,
Now, here's a question I'm kind of changing a little bit that's been in my mind, and people who played back in my era, we talk about this. But it seemed for a long time that once a pitcher started, that if he got into the 6th and 7th inning, if you as a manager went out there, he'd run you off the mound.
Absolutely.
I mean, he wanted to pitch the 9.
Absolutely.
But it seems like now they are wanting to be taken out if they can get into the 6th inning.
I don't know if they want to be taken out. That's what they've been trained to do. They've been trained to go as hard and as long as they can for 5 or 6 innings. And they know that that's all they have to do, because the bullpens are so specialized. Guys, you know, you got right-handers, left-handers that are throwing so hard now. I don't know if they want to come out, but that's just what they've been trained to do. So it's not like, you know, when Oral Hershiser, I talked to Oral Hershiser in spring training. That's what he said when Tommy would come out to the mound in the 7th inning, like he'd cuss him off the mound. You know, it's like, go eat some spaghetti back in the dugout, man, and walk on back there, because you're not taking me out. So it's so specialized now, and guys are throwing 100. I mean, there's so many guys throwing 100 miles an hour, 98 miles an hour, and that's what they're paid to do now, is get guys out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. So,
you know, Warren Spahn played golf a couple of times with him out at Indian Springs Country Club. And, he would fly in his helicopter from Hartshorn. And so one day a guy asked him, he said, what about all these icing? I said, in the dugout, they got ice on their shoulder, ice on their elbow. And he said, well, in my day, that would just be a waste of ice.
Yeah.
You need to use that in a bourbon and Coke.
Yeah. Well,
but it is a lot different these days.
It is a lot different, and technology's helped, and definitely how we stretch, how we lift, how we eat, are helping these guys throw harder, hit the ball further, have more bat speed, or running better. So it's definitely a different era.
Well, Scott, we sure wish you good luck this year. I know on opening night we're going to have the rally towels we'll be handing out, and then second night they'll have 1,500 fans will get the drillers blankets, and then on the third night there'll be jerseys with the commemorative number 42 in respect to Jackie Robinson and his move into professional baseball. That will be the first 3 nights, and we certainly look forward to having a great season, and good luck. And because you're our first guest today, you get a gift certificate from Jimmy's Egg.
You know what? You made me hungry talking about that.
There you go.
Let's go get some of that tomorrow.
Thank you very much, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Thank you.
30 years ago, a race began along a quarter mile of dirt and dreams in Oklahoma City. Today, with the biggest prize money and the best horses, that glittering quarter mile is home to the best quarter horse racing on earth. Remington Park proudly presents our biggest quarter horse season ever, celebrating 30 years of hard racing fun. World's best, OKC's own, Remington Park.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
Already.
I got it! Your room is going to be so cute.
OU is a pace setter in higher education and leads the nation in the number of National Merit Scholars enrolled. Your journey continues here at the University of Oklahoma.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. We have a very special guest today, the head softball coach at the University of Tulsa, John Bargfeldt. John, your success at TU has been unbelievable. And,
well, thank you.
12 years there, you've been dominant. A great number of conference championships, All-Americans, and postseason play in the NCAA. What do you attribute to that?
Well, I'd never been in Oklahoma before I came to interview for the job, and after I spent a couple of years going around and recruiting, I just kind of felt like, boy, if I stayed right around this area, I could get an awful lot of good players. And there's only 3 Division I teams in the state, and so we made a concerted effort to really go after those players, within this region area. And when you get good players, it makes a coach look good, that's for sure.
Absolutely, you're a lot better coach.
The thing that really excites me about watching girls softball, and I watch it on TV a lot, I watch you at your place a lot, is the fact that the way that they play the game, you never see them not backing up. You never see the cutoff not being where it should be. You never see them not sprinting in and sprinting out. It seems like they do every fundamental that a coach asks them to do. Am I right?
Well, I've always felt like coaching girls, it's like they're sponges, and just everything you say, they're just right on your word and listening to everything you have to do. And, it's not like we're perfect. We do make mistakes from time to time, but it's nice that they correct those, and are able to play fundamentally the right way and be in the right spots.
Let's talk about the league. Who's going to be tough in the league outside of Tulsa?
Well, South Florida and Central Florida, have gotten off to a real good start in the league, and we lost some real close games down at Central Florida this past weekend. Houston was expected to be, top notch, and then we're going to play Wichita State here, real soon, and they've got a real good hitting club as well.
And then, of course, how about on April the 17th when the University of Oklahoma comes to town, and Man, I can't wait for that one.
Oh, that's going to be exciting. You know, we had Oklahoma State in here, you know, about 10 days ago, and we just filled the place and had just a real energetic crowd. And that's the way OU, when they show up, you know, their fans come in, a lot of energy in the stadium, and you know, players get really excited to play in such a energetic atmosphere. So we'll be looking forward to that as well.
You got the Cowgirls. You'll be at their place on April 4th this week.
Right. We go back there and visit them on that Wednesday, and they're an awfully good ball club, and that was a really good win that we had, you know, at our place for them. So I know they'll be looking out for us. That's for sure.
Let's talk about your pitcher, because I've seen her stats so far have been outstanding.
Yeah, Emily Watson has just been, you know, on a roll for the last couple of years, and especially last year. You know, a lot of people kept asking me, man, how is she going to top what she was accomplished last year? She broke some records, and you know, had first 30-game winner for us, and just was able to keep us in ball games against some of the best teams in the country. And she's, you know, rounding into form again this year. Battled a little sickness there for a little bit, but last probably 2 weeks, she's been looking a lot like she was last year.
Who's your offense? Who's carrying the load there?
Well, Shelby Estacado, and you know, we've got about 4 hitters at the top of our lineup that have been doing really well. Shelby probably is having the best overall season when you look at power numbers and RBIs, runs scored, but you can also throw Julia Hollingsworth in there along with Morgan Neal and Hale Minen. You know, that group of hitters has been generating an awful lot of offense for us.
Where will the conference tournament be this year?
Conference tournament's in South Florida this year. They have a really nice stadium there. It kind of backs up to the baseball stadium. Our third base line and their first base line kind of line up.
I see.
John, when you take a look at the pitchers, it seems to me like they throw so many different. What, as the coach, what do you expect them to do from pitching?
Well, I think, you know, it starts from recruiting. You know, you're looking for certain things, and I'm looking for that late movement, and boy, it's getting harder and harder to find. So many of the big schools are taking so many pitchers, and they're taking them at such a young age. But we've been real fortunate to find homegrown talent here in the state that's wanted to stay close to home, and if OU or Oklahoma State didn't recruit them, we get an excellent shot at getting them. You know, that rise ball pitcher that we've had a lot of success with through the years. When you get that late jump on a rise ball, it's something that a lot of hitters have a lot of trouble with, especially if you can combine it with a great off speed, and that's what Emily has.
Got a great facility over there.
Yes.
Tell us about your facility.
Well, just a real unique atmosphere over there. It's a facility that is unlike any other in the country. We have that terrace seating as opposed to bleachers. And so every time we have a recruit in, that's one of the big things that they mention. Boy, this place really looks neat, you know, just standing out there in right field, looking at it. It's just something different that you don't see when you travel around the country in other ballparks.
What type of indoor facility do you have?
We're lucky to have a turf field indoors, about 35 yards by 40. So we have an indoor cage over there. It's over by the football stadium. They'll kind of use it on lightning days, but that's the only time that they get in there. So us and soccer and track and field pretty much share that facility. And we get to use it during our season. You know, we get first dibs on it. And so it's been really helpful. When I got here, we had 2 slippery wood basketball courts over there. It was really tough to get the girls ready on that surface.
But it's almost quintessential that you have indoor workout, especially in Oklahoma with the weather early, February and March. It's tough to.
You know, we didn't get outside to practice one time in February this year. And so that indoor facility, you know, and we started playing like the 8th of February. And so we'd leave on a Thursday, come back on a Sunday, practice on a Tuesday and Wednesday indoors, and then off we went again.
Yeah. You know, when I was at Upper Iowa University as the director of athletics, we always had to go to Florida with our baseball and softball teams to get in play. Or we played softball at Minnesota State in their dome football field.
Yep.
And they would put 2 softball fields at the end with temporary fencing, and we'd play a preseason tournament there just to get them in, because the further north you get, the more difficult it is to be able to play. You can't get them outside. Right. So what's I know you got OSU coming up. What's another big game you got other than OU?
Just Wichita State is coming up this weekend here, right after the OSU series, and they've been giving us some fits. They've probably swung the bats better against our pitching than most teams have, and so it'll be a real challenge for us to go up there and be able to hold their offense down.
Well, John, we certainly appreciate you being here today, and by doing that, we want to give you a gift card to Jimmy's Egg.
Oh, thank you.
They're open from 6 to 2, and you can have hamburgers at 6 o'clock and eggs at 1:30 if you want.
Great.
So, we're excited. Jimmy's Egg is our sponsor, and we're glad. And good luck to the Golden Hurricane as you get into the conference play.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lover's skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
I'm Kirk Smith, and this is my story. I'm a captain of TU's track and cross-country teams, and I'm a Rhodes Scholar. My life's pretty simple. I run, I work, and then I run some more. My research focuses on combating climate change by driving down the cost of energy storage. And that's my story, so far.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. We have a real special guest today. It's our pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Jeff Hale, the president of NEO A&M. Welcome to Sports Scene.
Thank you, Gil. My pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
We're glad to have you, and there's a lot of exciting things going on in Miami, Oklahoma.
No doubt. You know, the college will celebrate its centennial celebration next year, 100 years old. So it was founded in 1919 as the Miami School of Mines, and here we are 99 years later going great guns.
Well, it is really great. Some of the building that's gone on during your tenure there is just unbelievable.
No doubt. In 2007, a lot of people in northeast Oklahoma will remember a tragic flood. You know, the Grand Lake backed up all the way into Miami there, flooded about $35 million worth of the campus, 14 buildings. And since that time, we've been able to add about $80 million worth of improvements in the building, largely due to the flood, and then some successful fundraising as well.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Hale, as a graduate of NEO A&M College, I think that when you look at the metropolitan area of Tulsa, as well as Oklahoma City, that you have received so many students that a lot of people don't understand, and they don't recognize what a tremendous college Northeastern Oklahoma A&M is.
In many ways, JV, and we're proud to have you an alum, by the way. You know, it's kind of a hidden jewel in far northeast Oklahoma. It's the last town you come to before you leave the state of Oklahoma, but for decades, Tulsans have been making that trek up the turnpike, you know, in droves. In fact, through the 80s and 90s, we averaged about 500 students a year from Tulsa County alone, and another 250 students from Oklahoma County. And I think it has in large part to do with the fact that we offer some opportunities that very few two-year colleges are able to offer. For example, we're the only two-year college in Oklahoma that now competes in the sport of JUCO football. And we have 150 kids that will come out and try to make that football team, and we'll carry about 125, the majority of them Oklahomans. And a lot of them come from the metroplexes of Tulsa and Oklahoma. We offer the sport of wrestling, which we're the only two-year school in the state of Oklahoma to offer wrestling. We brought that back 5 years ago, hired the best coach in the country, and we've won 3 out of the last 5 national championships, including the one just a month ago up in Nebraska.
You know, when you take a look at what's happened at NEO A&M College, I go back to 1951, 53, and I tell this to a lot of people, and then they look at me like I'm crazy, but they say, where did you go to college? I went to college, NEO A&M in Miami. Well, where'd you get a degree? Well, I didn't. I got a degree up there, but I didn't get the 4-year degree up there. But that's where I went to college, and I think over the years that all of the students have had that loyalty feeling toward
NEO.
Northeastern A&M.
Yeah, well said, JV. In fact, one of the, I think, greatest pleasures for me as a president, and I'm in my 10th year now, Gil, is meeting a lot of the graduates from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you know, and they love coming back to campus. We love having them on campus. And I hear those comments very frequently that had not been for NEO A&M College, you know, they don't really know where their life would be today. And these are some of the most successful Tulsans and Oklahomans and people around the country that you'll ever run into.
And we're going to have a golf tournament here in Tulsa. I want you to talk about that because that gives a lot of the people in the metropolitan area an opportunity to come back and get together and talk some good NEO
I think
stories.
that's a great lead-in. In fact, the 16th annual JV Haney Golf Tournament coming up on April 23rd at Cherokee Hills. We'll go at 1 o'clock. Gil's had a chance to come out there for a couple of times. We do this to raise scholarship money for students out of the Tulsa metropolitan area. And one of the things that I'd like to encourage your viewers to think about is any school that enters a team will get a $1,000 scholarship from NEO and the NEO Foundation, and they'll be able to award that to any of their graduating seniors that they can use at Northeastern Oklahoma.
I tell you, Jeff, it's one of the great things I think that you have done, and you're not probably at the back of the class in this. Is emphasizing your intercollegiate athletics program as a part of the collegial experience. I think that's a critical thing that we sometimes lose. You know, that athletics is an extra expense and so on, but with 150 student athletes coming out for football, that helps your enrollment management, doesn't it?
No doubt about it. It impacts the bottom line in a really successful way. 60 wrestlers in the wrestling room all year, 125 to 50 football players. You know, and so our vision for the college is we want to be a national leader in everything that we do. That includes academics, athletics, and Aggies. We're an Aggie school. We're one of, in fact, we're the only school in Oklahoma with A&M still in our name, even though there were 5 that started that way. So we're a very proud Aggie school, as well as our intercollegiate athletics. And for me, I think it's really teaching young people again the importance of being competitive and having a competitive mindset. You know, I think we've raised a generation or more of young people who don't know how to compete or don't know how to really make the sacrifices of what it takes to be competitive. And so I've preached it from day one, really, whether you're in an English classroom, a science lab, the football field, the wrestling room. We want you to be the very best at what you can do. And to do that, you've got to really, I think, embrace what it means to be competitive. And you got to make sacrifices, and you got to go the extra distance. And for me, the most important thing I do day in and day out, Gil, is hire coaches and teachers and staff people, you know, because they're really the ones that are going to spend the enormous amount of time around these young people. And if you put quality, character, high expectation kind of coaches and teachers around these young people, my experience has been they'll rise to the occasion.
I don't think there's any doubt about that, and you have done that over the years, the 10 years that you've been there. And I think it speaks volumes to where the college is today and where it was 10 years ago.
I appreciate that.
It has grown, and there's no question that there's some integrity there that people appreciate and want to send their students to NEO. I think it's one of those great things. Well, let's don't forget the 16th annual Puddin' Haney golf tournament at Cherokee Hills, and you can of course contact the college.
That's right.
Or you can contact JV. I'll give you his cell phone number. We really appreciate you being here, Jeff, and by being here, we want you to go to Jimmy's Egg, our title sponsor for this week.
May head that away right now.
Absolutely.
I'm hungry. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
bet.
JV. Appreciate you. Yeah, thanks.
We'll be back.
30 years ago, a race began along a quarter mile of dirt and dreams in Oklahoma City. Today, with the biggest prize money and the best horses, that glittering quarter mile is home to the best quarter horse racing on earth. Remington Park proudly presents our biggest quarter horse season ever, celebrating 30 years of hard racing fun. World's best, OKC's own, Remington Park.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. Jimmy's Egg brings this edition to you. And of course, this is one of our exciting and our favorite times where Barry Lewis of the Tulsa World picks the student athlete and the coach of the month.
All right, our coach of the month is Matt Sweeney. Matt led Owasso to its first girls basketball state championship since 1990. Looked like at first that the Lady Rams might be have some struggles this year. They won only one of their first 3 games, but then they won 25 of their last 26 and went all the way, winning the Class 6A state championship. And our player of the month is Wright City's Robert Briley. He capped a fantastic career by leading Wright City to a 30-2 record and the Class 2A state championship. And sort of in a storybook finish, he passed the 2,000 career point mark in his last high school game. So congratulations to Matt Sweeney, our coach of the month, and Robert Briley, our player of the month.
Let's talk about some things now that are relevant to what's going on right now in high school athletics with the teacher walkout, shutdown of schools and everything. What's your take on that as you visit with all of the athletic directors and coaches from around the area?
It's they're up in the air, as everyone is, as you are. If the walkout doesn't take, but a few days, then I think it's not really that big a deal. But if it takes a lot longer, then what does it do to all the seasons, especially those that involve districts? Then that could really play a lot of havoc. It's really the unknown factor right now that's the biggest thing on their minds.
JB, what do you think? You've been around for a long time. Was there a walkout during your era?
Well, the thing that really bothers me is the fact that I don't want to see them do anything that would in any way become negative to the players who may be going to get a scholarship. But if it can just happen for a few days and things can be settled between the state and the teachers organization, then that's super. But I would hate to see it go to the point to where that young athletes were some way or another put in a negative manner.
I think the majority of the schools that I've visited with, and I've talked both east and west of I-35 and talking to those schools, most everybody are playing spring varsity sports. Those programs are in. One of the things that we've done in Tulsa was that we are closing our facilities until 3:30 every day in honor of the teachers, to be able to honor their walkout. So we don't start any practice before 3:30. And a lot of districts have done that. Some it's 4 o'clock, some it's 2:30. It depends. There are some districts that have continued right on, off-season programs, the whole bit. We have not. It's only varsity, and that means anybody in the 9th grade through the senior year can practice and play at a varsity contest, but no JV contest, no freshman contest. And again, that's in honor of the teachers. We certainly hope, that something happens. One of the reasons that we pushed for that was when I talked to the Activities Association, David Jackson, their indication to me was they weren't going to alter their playoff systems at all. So if the regional is the first week in May and the state track meet or the state championship in baseball is the second weekend in May, that's what it was going to be. And if you look at that and you're trying to play district matches and games and soccer and everything, baseball, and you don't get those in, then you couldn't qualify to play in the regional and go on the state tournament. So with that and with the number of senior student athletes that were playing, we felt that it was incumbent upon us to be able to provide that opportunity and still honor our teachers. So it's going to be interesting. If we stay out a long time, it will be a very interesting deal to handle as we get into graduation and proms and all those awards assemblies and everything.
Well, the thing that bothers me, and I know we're about out of time, but the fact that there's so many of the kids do not get scholarships from spring sports until the spring sport is over. So if there's any way that it is detracting that, then we don't want to do it.
I think that was the one reason we said we need to have varsity spring sports very active, to give those kids that opportunity. And not even from the standpoint of a kid that this will be the last time they perform anywhere for anybody.
That's true.
Well, we'll be right back with the little more sports scene after these messages.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lovers skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, it won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
It's got to be real barbecue, right? Not some frozen meat cooked who knows where, who knows when, and then trucked in. No, it's got to be the finest cuts. It's got to be a lot of choices, like 9 different meats. It's got to be fast for dine-in, carry-out, or catering. It's got to be smoked fresh right there that day over aged pecan wood. It's got to be the place where all the barbecue wannabes take a back seat, because they can't compete. It's got to be real barbecue, right? It's got to be Billy Sims.
Billy Sims Barbecue. Eat like a champion today.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. And now we have our update from our friends at Remington Park.
The big futurity and derby races are now well underway this season at Remington Park. The historic 77th running of the Grade 3 $371,000 Oklahoma futurity went to Long Wagon Ho, who pulled an 11-1 upset for owner-trainer Julio Corral.
And Long Wagon Ho goes for the lead. It's Long Wagon Ho on the front. Pomp Stimpy Wagon not getting there. Reggie's Bellbond outside. Reggie's Bellbond and Long Wagon Ho in a photo.
Ridden by Alfredo Triana, Long Wagon Ho won the Oklahoma futurity by a nose. In other stakes on that first big futurity night of the year, La Vencedora made an early mark in the Derby Series, winning the Grade 3 Oklahoma Derby. RP Livewire Dash won the Oklahoma Paint Appaloosa futurity, while Expressions in Snow handled her foes to win the Speed Horse Graham Paint Appaloosa Derby. A special memorial was held on March 31st at Remington Park to honor jockey Cesar Gomez. Jockey Cesar Gomez began racing at Remington Park in 2014. Also the first year, he began riding parimutuel races. Born in Mexico, Gomez did not spend a lot of time paying his dues, as success and victories began to take place early in his career. Known for his smile and, more recently, his elaborate beard, Gomez nearly scored the top prize in quarter horse racing when he rode One Fabulous Eagle to a runner-up finish in the 2015 $3 million All-American Futurity. Gomez and One Fabulous Eagle were beaten just a neck by undefeated champion Just Good Candy. A regular at all of the major quarter horse racing venues in America, Gomez fared well at Remington Park. His most recent stakes win came aboard the Fiscal Cliff in the 2017 Bob Moore Memorial.
Okay, now the Fiscal Cliff reaches down and finds Moore. The Fiscal Cliff going on to win the Bob Moore Memorial by a half length.
Gomez had 4 wins for the current Remington Park season, winning for the last time here aboard Araby Mountain on March 23rd. Overall in Oklahoma City, he won 83 races, with earnings of nearly $1.6 million. Through his career, Gomez won 255 quarter horse, paint, and Appaloosa races, with total earnings of more than $5.6 million. While returning from a racing engagement traveling in a small plane, Gomez perished along with the pilot late Sunday, March 25th, when the aircraft crashed in western Oklahoma. Cesar Gomez was 27. Now into April, the $900,000 Remington Park Futurity Trials take place April 6th and 7th, with the lucrative final contested April 21st. Also on that program, the $300,000 Remington Park Derby. Both events are for Oklahoma breds. At Remington Park in Oklahoma City, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sportscene.
Thanks to Dale Day and our group over at Remington Park, some of our really good sponsors, and really, if you enjoy racing, you need to get over to Remington Park. Now it's time for our parting shots, and our first up is J.V. Haney.
Well, when I take a look at what's happening in April, it just seems like every April there are more and more sports. When you start looking now at the high school sports, at the professional sports, and the way they have increased the college football program in the spring, that there is just so much to do. But I would like to encourage all of the viewers to please don't forget the young men and the young women in your high school, and that you continue to support them in all of their sports. It's very important to them, and it's so easy for us to get lost and get on some of the other, on the college or on the professional level. So don't forget where it starts, on the high school level.
Our award-winning sports writer, Barry Lewis.
I hear all the time about what a strong and growing soccer community that Tulsa has, but you can't see it at the Tulsa Roughnecks games. The attendance has just been really disappointing since they started 4 years ago. This past weekend was the 40th anniversary of the first Tulsa Roughnecks game ever in the old NASL. That game only drew 5,000 back in 1978. Nowadays, 5,000 would be a great crowd for a Roughnecks game. So I'd encourage those in and outside of the soccer community to give the Roughnecks a chance. Come out to their games. One Oak Field's a great place to watch soccer. And their next home match is on Wednesday, April 3rd against Portland. They won't be home again after that until May. So give Tulsa Roughnecks soccer a chance at One Oak Field.
And my parting shot is a thank you to all of those school districts and those superintendents and boards of education that opted to go ahead and continue their spring sports. Without that, these senior student athletes all over the community would not have that opportunity to perform. And we certainly are glad that we took that tack, and these young men and women have one more shot at making their life really wonderful in high school. Coming up next time, and we have really a great situation here that we're doing with Joe Castiglione, the athletics director from Oklahoma. We'll have Mike James, who's president of the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, and Lee Levinson, a thoroughbred track owner. He will bring us an update because, you know, the first Saturday in May is the Kentucky Derby. So we look forward to having those on our show next time. And JV and Barry, we appreciate you being here today and filling in for me. And I'm filling in for Chris, and JV's filling in for JV. We're excited about Jimmy's Egg and Oklahoma Sports Scene, and hope you'll be with us next time when it becomes Bricktown Sports Scene.